when you started with this process and how you get engaged with it.
Gotcha. Well, our uh, I started uh, as a distiller, I suppose, back in 2012. But where it really started was back in college in the mid 90s. I was a home brewer in college. I started making beer when I was 19 because the pieces of beer are legal to buy when you're under
Mm-hmm.
21, but actual beer is not legal to buy when you're under 21. Go figure. So I practiced and played around and made a little bit of beer my last couple of years of college, and then I went from making beer after college to making wine after college. And we made 3 or 4 batches of wine for a couple of years, and then I went from wine making to wine tastings. We started exploring more of the different types of wine that I didn't otherwise have access to as a winemaker, a home winemaker. And a friend of mine at one of these wine tasting events invited me over to a whiskey tasting event, which I didn't even know existed at the time. And I wasn't really a big fan of whiskey at the time. We're talking 2005, 2006. I wasn't really a big fan of whiskey, but I went to a couple of whiskey tastings and fell in love
With the whiskey.
with the spectrum of whiskeys and how the different types of whiskey express themselves. Even the same type of
Mm-hmm.
whiskey put side by side.
Hey, if you change like when you mix this barrel with this other barrel, they
Absolutely.
change completely the
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah, and I learned that even the same bourbon,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or bourbon, the same type of whiskey, can express itself in different ways if it's aged in different ways, or if it's aged in different areas. And
Mm-hmm.
the way that the wood interacts with the whiskey and the climate where it's aging at, it's very different from the way that wine interacts
beer.
with the barrel,
Yeah.
because you get more color and flavor from the barrel with whiskey, where the barrel just kind of rounds out the flavor of the wine. And I'm explaining that really badly, and wine drinkers are going to chew
Mm-hmm.
my head off about it, but that's fine. I'm more focused on the whiskey side anyway. And then, I fell in love with the whiskey, and a few years later, I had the opportunity to start a distillery with a buddy of mine. And in 2012, we started our distillery, and a few years later, I bought them out and moved our enterprise here to Humble and turned it into the old Humble Distilling Company.
So how long you been right now here
At
on
this
this one?
space here, we've been here since 2015. We opened our doors in 2016, and now it is 2019, and we're moving to a new facility in 2020, which will be 50% bigger and more of a full-time operation.
So maybe in the future, maybe become another brand.
Yeah, the door is open. You're invited anytime you want to come out.
Thank you, thank you. So right now you are focused on whiskey.
Whiskey.
Boy,
We are a whiskey distillery. We have made in the past vodka. I bottle vodka for an outside partner, Grand 79. It's a golden bottle with a little curve in the middle.
Mhm.
It's a very, very nice looking bottle, very, very good tasting vodka.
Vodka.
But we are not focused at this point on making vodka. We're focused on making whiskey. The
Whiskey
best
and good
damn
whiskey. Sound good, second. So right now, how old is the whiskey are you making?
So the whiskey that we make it in these 5-gallon barrels, and we age it anywhere between 6 and 9 months. The oldest whiskey that we have is our straight whiskey, which is aged 5 years in used bourbon barrels.
Okay.
And then we age our special reserve. We take that 5-year aged straight whiskey and age it another 6 to 12 weeks in a 5-gallon barrel to make our special reserve.
Okay, sir. What kind of wood you use for yours? Like barrels?
What else we use the barrels for?
Yeah, not what kind of wood?
Oh, we use new American white oak barrels.
So the flavor is gonna be explosive.
Uh-huh.
Like the white oak, really.
Right. And most of your American whiskeys, all of your bourbons and most
Mhm.
of your American whiskeys use American white oak.
Oak.
There are some scotches, more often with scotch and wines that'll use French oak, but for most of the production in the United States, even the non-bourbon production in the United States,
Mhm.
is white American oak.
Sounds good.
And that's mostly because most of the bourbon production in the United States requires American white oak.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's most of the production, then that kind of dictates the rest of the cooperage industry.
That's true. So right now you have 2 or 3 lines.
We have three
Three.
lines of bourbon, or 3 lines of whiskey, 2 American whiskeys, and 1 Texas bourbon,
This is
our
bourbon.
Boomtown bourbon.
Which one is that one you have on the?
That
This one here.
is our Boomtown bourbon.
That's a Texas bourbon.
Yes. 100% grain to glass, made right here in our facility. We boiled the grains and fermented the grains and distilled the grains. All the whiskey came right here. I was here when it was made, and I was here when it was put in the bottles.
So this is all you have to do it right now
This is a
until you move to the new
right.
one.
So this is a 1,600 square foot facility, and everything we do is done in here. There's office and bathroom space over here. We have our reception area and bottle storage area and finished bottle storage area. Over there in the corner is our rack house where we have our barrels where we usually age the whiskey over there. Over here we've got our finished liquor storage tanks. This area here is a bottling and blending and water treatment area and labeling area. And we use most of this area 2-3 times over, for different purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The tables are reusable and maneuverable, so we can adjust things and do things. This is our shipping and receiving area where we bring in raw materials like our bottles and we ship out the finished goods. We have our cardboard recycling space that we're kind of getting things ready to go.
Yeah.
But this is the still that we're using right now, a 25-gallon still. This is the distilling space that we use, where we've got our 25-gallon still, and we start the grains here. We grind the grains for our bourbon here, and we grind it to a coarse consistency meal, so that we don't end up with a paste. We want it to be a kind of a loose mix. We'll do our corn and our rye, and we'll boil the corn and rye until it gives up its starchy, sugary goodness. Once that starchy, sugary goodness is in the water, we'll bring the temperature down, we'll add our malted barley, and we'll steep that for another 3 hours or so. We'll take that wash and all the grains and we'll transfer it over into our fermenter. We add some water to bring the temperature down below 90 degrees, and then we throw in our yeast and let the yeast do its work for anywhere between 10 days and 2 weeks.
Okay.
When the yeast gives up their spirit and have made our spirit, we will transfer as much of the liquid as we can back into this pot and slowly bring the temperature up so that we can separate the heads from the hearts in a more controlled fashion. We'll collect up the heads and then begin our process of distilling the hearts and collect up anywhere between 2 to 2.5 gallons, 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons sometimes, of 160 or so, well, no more than 160 proof whiskey. If we have any more liquid left behind over here, I'll try and collect that up and put it in here. We're trying to move the liquid over and not the grains, because the grains will stick to our heating element, give us a burned flavor, and we don't really want that. In our new facility, we're going to have 2 much larger stills, 125 gallons each,
Oof.
that are steam jacketed, and then we'll be able to transfer the grains
Oh,
over.
That one they're gonna give you the opportunity to be really full time.
Right. But we can also move the grains over with the liquid, and I don't have to worry about the grains scorching as much, because it's steam jacketed and it's not direct heat, it's kind of indirect heat. And then we'll also get a higher yield out of it. So I'm really looking forward to the new facility. When that
They're
comes
gonna be
online.
close to this one, or?
Yeah, it's just a couple miles down the road.
Okay.
Yeah. So then when we collect up the liquor coming out of here, it is officially bona fide, honest to goodness whiskey. It's a clear, high proof, clean whiskey. It doesn't have all the flavor of your aged whiskey, because most of the flavor and all of the color comes from the barrel. But we'll collect it up out of there and it becomes whiskey. As soon as it touches the inside of that barrel, it becomes bourbon. Okay. And that's how bourbon is born. It touches the inside of the barrel. If I want to call it a straight bourbon whiskey, it has to age for at least 2 years. But we're not aging it that long, because we're only using 5-gallon barrels, and it ages anywhere between 6 and 9 months, which is how our bourbon is born.
Okay. So right now you're ready to move.
We are ready. We are ready. This
Ready
is
to
ready
move,
to go on
ready
the truck.
to-
All of this is ready to go on a truck. All of this is ready to go on a truck. The only stuff that's not ready to go on a truck is the stuff on our shelves, and some of this stuff over here that needs to kind of get packaged up, put on a pallet, and wrapped in plastic. But all the big things, they're pretty much ready to go. We should be able to get it all in one trip.
I know how they feel, because when I move to my new house, I find the big ones, put everything.
Oh, yeah. And moving your house is even tougher because
Mm-hmm.
you've got to live in the house at the same time. You got to move the house.
Mhm.
Once we, I'm going to be pushing this bourbon for the next 3 days. I expect it will be sold out by the end of Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. So today's Saturday. We're going to be selling today, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Monday afternoon. We'll be selling it Monday afternoon. So I expect we'll be able to push those out the door by Thanksgiving, so we can shut down, and then Friday and Saturday pack everything up, get out of here. We don't actually.
Which one is?
The straight whiskey. The silver label. And this is our straight whiskey. There you go. You can see the whole presentation of it. And it is 90% corn and 10% malted barley. And it's aged 5 years in used bourbon barrels.
How much is the proof percent?
90 proof.
90
So
proof.
it's 45% alcohol by volume.
They got a good many flavor. Oh, it's a really good one.
So what it's missing, a couple of things. It doesn't have that medicine-y aftertaste. It doesn't have that high dry heat you get from the rye. And it also doesn't have that heavily oaked bite that you get from your typical corn whiskeys, because we age it in a used barrel and not a new barrel.
Okay.
So your typical corn whiskeys have that light corn or the light corn flavor of the wash that kind of gets overpowered by a new barrel. But we use a used barrel, so it doesn't have that same overpowering aspect. Now, we take a portion of that whiskey that already has that base flavor. It already has that fully formed base flavor of our special or our straight whiskey, and we put it back in a barrel and age it a second time. It gives it this darker color, as you can see the difference.
90% proof too.
Yeah, it's also 90 proof, but it has a darker color and it has a little bit deeper, more rounded flavor to it.
Okay.
Which is what happens when you layer that flavor in from the barrel the second time. Otherwise, as I was mentioning before, that barrel would just kind of overpower it.
Mm-hmm. For me, I prefer this one.
We get about half and half. Some people like the lighter bodied, brighter flavor of this straight whiskey. Other people like the deeper, more mellow flavor.
Yeah,
for
my neighbor,
reserve.
he like more the power ones. He's gonna be like this one. But that one, the Boomtown,
It's an entirely different creature.
yeah,
It's on another plane.
it's completely different. It's like,
I don't like to use when I'm doing tastings, even when I'm not using my whiskey, when I'm doing tastings with different flavors or different brands and different expressions of the whiskey, even when I'm doing tastings with wine, I don't personally like to use the terms better or worse, because some people like Boone's Hill.
yeah,
They like that garbage. They drink Mad Dog, they drink whatever, and it's great for them, and they love it. Some people will swear up and down that Pabst Blue Ribbon is the best beer they've ever had. There's people that drink Budweiser, and they love it. It's not for everybody.
Even
Some
Schaefer.
people don't like
there's
it.
still people who are drinking Schaefer.
Right.
Schaefer is a
Right.
60 beer.
But I mean, if it's something that people drink, then somebody likes it, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just isn't. what
I
they
like
to drink.
I like both
People
all
watch Pauly
three,
Shore movies.
but for me, I prefer like the smooth flavors.
Yeah.
That one got half a really smooth one.
Thank you.
This one is really good one, but this one is, they got like a same flavor,
Mm-hmm.
but the special reserve they give you the like that boom.
It's got a little bit. It's more robust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That.
So, and that's what I like to the terminology that I like to use when I do tastings is that they're different.
Yeah.
They express
This one,
themselves
his
differently.
body is like more powerful with the flavor. This one is more
There you
light.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like to. The only bad whiskey is whiskey that people don't drink. And
Mm-hmm.
if people are drinking it, then it's clearly good whiskey. If you buy a bottle and it sits on your shelf because you don't want it, you gotta psych yourself up to take a drink. It sits there for years and years and years and years. It's not a good whiskey to you, and there's holes in the bottom of your sink to fix that. When you have a good whiskey that you like to drink and you share it with friends, it doesn't matter if they like it or not. It's good to you. You can drink it.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of garbage whiskey out there that a lot of people like to drink.
That's true.
And that's fine for them. They can drink it. I aspire to make a whiskey that people do not have to fight their way to the bottom of a bottle. You can drink it, and you get, 2/3 of the way through the bottle, and you didn't have to struggle one bit.
This is that's really really good. So we have here. This one is the other year.
The lighter of the two.
Yeah.
Right. That's our straight whiskey.
This
And
one
then
is
our
special
reserve.
reserve.
Right.
It's gonna be the same one, but with that
The same base stock. Exactly.
boom of flavor and power.
Mhm.
Then we got the
And
Boomtown,
then the Boomtown Bourbon, which is a
the baby of the house.
creature of another construction where it has a different grain bill entirely, where it's
Even this one is
72%
more,
corn.
a little bit more dark than the special reserve.
Mhm.
But when you taste, they got the boom of flavor, but not the power of the bourbon.
Right.
They give you the opportunity to all three are really good enjoy. But this one in particular is like when you take your first shot, they tell you to take the second and the third continue.
And I didn't pay you a dime to say that.
No, that's coming from me.
This was your first interaction with
Yeah.
the whiskey.
With it.
And I appreciate that. That's the goal. You
Yep.
want to drink another drink. You don't have to mix it with something. You don't need to water it down. You want to have your second drink. You want to have your third, and you want to tell your friends
Exactly.
because you want to share this experience with them. And
That's the idea
not
of
be
this.
disappointed.
I like to drink. I come from Puerto Rico, so I'm a rum guy. I still live rum. I'm beer guy.
Mhm.
But when I go inside the culinary life, because I've been chef in Puerto Rico, I start trying all kind of different like wine, whiskey, and when I moved to Texas, I started drinking more whiskey and learning more. So my idea with this is like go to any kind of distillery and give it the opportunity to others to learn a little bit about the process
Mhm.
and the products. I even giving the opportunity to find a way to engage with the product. Not only to know the product, is not to even to buy the product. So
Well, there you go. I appreciate that. I'm glad to have done my part to help.
how about this one? This is my top one right now.
Awesome.
I
And it will be available in stores come August or September next year.
Next year?
We should be able to make our first shipment to our distributor by
Ooh.
August or September, and it should be available in stores. The goal is to have it available in stores by the end of September, the beginning of October,
Mhm.
all across the state of Texas.
my birthday. Yeah. No, this is my my third one.
Uh-huh.
The first time I do this, I go to Corpus. I go to Justice Labor and don't remember the vodka company on Corpus.
Mhm.
And they make a really good whiskey with good flavors. But this one, and guys, I'm talking about this one. Oh, this one is It's good. It's really fucking good. So
I would say that I'm humbled for that, but I would first be mispronouncing humble, and obviously I appreciate it. Thank you.
it's weird because in English, H is supposed to be like a J
Yeah.
for us, and when you say
Humble,
yeah, humble, I like when I moved here now it's humble,
right?
but
That's how we
you're
pick.
talking, you're telling humble in Spanish, so why?
Well, as the story goes, the founder of the city, Pleasant Humble Smith, didn't pronounce the H in his name. He was
That's why.
he was a Brit, and he wore ats and didn't pronounce his H's proper. So the H is silent. There's a competing story that says he's French, but the family disagrees. And that's also how we spot the new newscasters that don't know how to pronounce the name, and the people from out of town that are stopping by looking for the airport in Humble. Yep, we know they're not from around these parts.
So guys, this is my first time here. I enjoyed the tour. He got a lot of knowledge of what he's doing. He do a really good whiskey. This one, behind me, is the best one here. Or three are good, but this one is the best one. So he gonna move to a new one, and we go when he moves to a new one. This is all Humble Distillery. Thank you guys. See you soon.